One of the hardest working vehicles on the estate. She can be seen out pretty much every day, either being driven by our education team or by living history. She's from 1929, and brand new, she would have cost you £245. In today's money, that equates to about £7,000. Not a bad price for a brand new car, but it just goes to show that by the end of the 1920s, travelling in a car, motoring for pleasure and for leisure, was something that was open to everyone, not just the privileged few. Austin made several versions of this car. This is the sporty drop top, and like most sporty drop tops, totally impractical. There's no boot, and if it does rain, the roof only just manages to meet the top of the windscreen, and there are no sides, so you get totally soaked anyway. So you might just as well save yourself the trouble, leave the roof down, and enjoy the great British summer. Now, which may end up being pushed around the arena. Most of you, I'm sure you will recognise her when she starts to move around. This is the van driven by the famous, or is it infamous, Trotter brothers, Dell and Rodney. A lot of people will mistakenly call her a Robin Reliant. She's not a Robin. Robins didn't come around until a lot later. This one, far more in keeping with Del Boy, she's a Reliant Regal Superband 3. Oh, well done, Aaron. No pressure on you there, don't worry. Now, when Reliant were designing and building these vehicles, they wanted something that was cheap and economical. Well, certainly cheap. They cut down on the number of wheels to start off with. Very economical. She's got a 700cc engine that will take her up to 70. Our next vehicle is a bit of a film star, actually. Here we have the very car driven by Mr. Toad in the 1996 film adaptation of Kenneth Grahame's much-loved children's story, The Wind in the Willows. In the film, that late, great Monty Python Terry Jones played the part of Mr. Toad, and this is the car that he drove in it. Now, as I said, the film was 1996, but that does not look like a car from 1996. Conversion kits like this do. They took a Land Rover, they stripped off the body and created this early 1900s body to go on top. Now, of course, again, as a film prop, they never expected to have to get to the engine. This next vehicle always makes me chuckle when it drives towards me, literally because of its size. 6 of these distinctive vehicles were built between 1972 and 1974 to promote outspan oranges. This was one of the first, built in 1972, and they were all constructed by Brian Waite Enterprises Limited and incorporated many components from the ever-popular Mini. 5 were used for advertising in Britain, France and Germany, while 1 was shipped all the way down to South Africa, which is the home of outspan orange. Now you have to remember this was all way before the internet, so this was your advertising. They literally just drove around the countryside. You saw this driving around the next time you went shopping and you wanted oranges. She can always run out of juice. Oh, you think that one's back? She's got very limited appeal. Here all summer. Thank you very much, Ben. I think it's very limited this time. Now this next vehicle is the only commercial vehicle that we use on the parade. This is an Albion A14. Introduced in 1911 as a 4-cylinder model, it could be built as a light van or lorry such as this, a light bus, a taxi, or even as a range of cars. This particular lorry was built in June 1914, at which time the chassis cost £411, but that's all you got. just the chassis. You then had to find a coach builder to build the body for you. She's got a 2.5 litre engine, giving her 15 horsepower. But believe you me, you don't want to get stuck behind her because she only has a top speed of 20 miles per hour. Now, she had a long career in the Manchester area, and eventually she was rescued from a breaker's yard in 1958 and restored by Beaulieu Motors themselves, specifically for the then Montague Motor Museum, which is of course now the National Motor Museum. Stephen? Now we have another film star for you here. This is the vehicle driven by Zio, the villain henchman of Gustav Graves in James Bond's Die Another Day. The film came out in 2002, and that marked the 40th anniversary of the Bond film franchise. And it included references to each of the previous films through props on Q's desk. In the film, 007 in his Aston Martin V12 Vanquish has a duel with Zao in this fully loaded production model Jaguar XKR on a frozen lake. And she is a production model, supercharged 400 brake horsepower engine under them. But she does have a few optional extras needed for today's roads. Really see the gold coming through. Thank you very much, Ben. Now this next vehicle, this is quite a futuristic vehicle, and she's new to us this year. When you're ready, Paul. Oh, I can see smoke coming out the back, that's the engine started. Yep. Right, now this futuristic hovercraft was the third Doctor Who's second road vehicle, and made her first appearance in Invasion of the Dinosaurs, which was broadcast in January and February 1974. She's actually being driven today by Paul, her current owner. The only other appearance of the car was in the Planet of the Spiders, which was actually the final adventure for the third Doctor, who was of course John Pertwee. And the Whomobile was actually John Pertwee's idea. He approached Nottingham-based custom car builder Peter Farries to design a hugely futuristic vehicle for the Doctor, which was initially known as the Alien. And as she drives towards you, looking at that canopy, you can see. Whilst you're here, don't forget to go across to our on-screen cars, where you'll see Bessie, John Pertwee's first road vehicle as Doctor Who, and also K9. Thank you very much, Paul. Now, before our next vehicle, I did mention that it's only thanks to our workshop teams that all these vehicles are going. They're normally hidden around the back, you've very rarely seen them. We've got two dressed in their green boiler suits on the arena at the moment. Please give a round of applause to our workshop team. So our final vehicle. Here we have quite possibly the most famous film car of them all. Shout out if you know her name. That's right, she is of course the one and only Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Well, I say one and only. You'd be forgiven for being surprised that there's one driving around the arena, but there's also one in the museum. Well, to make some of you feel exceptionally old, the film came out in 1968, and for the film they actually built 6 cars. The one in the museum was the hovercraft in the film. Although you can't touch it, many parts of it are polystyrene to make her light enough to sit on the skirts of the hovercraft. Eventually an engine was put inside and the wings underneath. At the beginning of the film, Chitty Bang Bang is a racing car that crashes and catches fire. That is the vehicle you see driving around now. A little later in the film, the children of the mad inventor Caractacus Potts are seen playing in the ruined Chitty Bang Bang in a scrapyard again, that is the vehicle that you see driving around.